again from our Law and Crime studios here in New York. I'm Michelle Yu. Tennessee couple Nikki Alcaraz and Tyler Stratton were last seen in the beginning of May in New Mexico. They were on a road trip to Southern California to visit Alcaraz's family at the time. The couple had a run-in with police on May 4th after a domestic dispute where the Torrance County Sheriff's Department reported the 33-year-old mother to have a black eye. Other injuries were also photographed, and a witness claimed to see Stratton punch Alcaraz in the face, but the report also says Stratton was hit. This case is gaining national attention as the similarities to the 2021 disappearance and death of 22-year-old vlogger Gabby Petito are certainly striking. And there is certainly a lot to talk about here, as Kesia Early and Ben Chu are still here with me, as they have been with us this hour to break everything down. Again, we see a case where there are clear signs of physical altercation here, yet the couple are simply separated for one night. But what these cases are teaching us is that you can never be too careful in these circumstances. Do you agree, Kesia?
Of course, and I was just about to say, as you were going over this case, it was strikingly similar to Gabby Petito, where had they either arrested Petito because she admitted that she struck first, maybe she would have been alive. And in this case, there were clear signs of injuries. Why wasn't he apprehended, arrested, separated more than a 24-hour period? So it's unfortunate that these domestic violence cases aren't taken more seriously, or rather separate the parties longer so that we can ensure that this doesn't happen.
Ben, what comes to mind when you hear a case like this?
I couldn't agree more with Kesia. I think they need to separate couples in these circumstances and make sure that they physically separate them. And if one of them has the car, have one of them take the car, go back home, go somewhere else. Because as you said, this happened more than once. And when you have signs of physical injury, the police should be empowered to take bolder steps.
Well, there is footage from a Walmart in Redding, California that authorities believe to have seen the mother of two over this past weekend. If this is the case, why is she staying hidden, Kesia? What do you think?
It could be a case of battered women syndrome. Who knows? She could have gone back to him. I try a lot of domestic violence cases, and believe it or not, even after the person is apprehended, arrested, and formally charged, it's usually the victim who signs a waiver of prosecution or goes before the court and asks the judge to allow the charges to be dismissed. So we don't know at this point if she's missing or if she's just voluntarily went back to this horrific situation, but hopefully she'll get the right help that she needs and separate herself from this relationship.
Well, Stratton also has an unrelated arrest charge in Tennessee. Do you think that that has anything to do with them being hidden, Ben?
It could. It absolutely could. It also raises obvious red flags as to his possible guilt here.
Kesia, what do you think? This is tied to a theft charge we're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you have various charges, domestic violence, you can have violent crimes, or you can just have a crime stacking up. So if he's on the run and she's with him and she doesn't want anything to happen with him, then again, maybe it's voluntary. I'm hoping that she's safe. I'm hoping that she gets the proper help, because we know how the Gabby Petito case ended. And unfortunately, the longer you stay with your abuser, it only gets worse.
Ben, I think Kesia brought up a really good point before about how she's probably hidden because this could be a case of also domestic violence being involved here. How do you view that?
Again, I agree with her, and she's probably still living in fear.
And Kesia, how do you see at the end of the day, if you were working on this trial, how would you go about it?
Well, when he's ultimately apprehended, because again, he has this outstanding case, evidence of flight is usually evidence of guilt. So if he's on the run and he knows that authorities are searching for him, he's going to have an uphill battle. But in this case, again, with the alleged victim in this case, we know that there's obvious signs of abuse. Put her in a safe space, get her proper counseling, and hopefully she can be the state star witness and testify against him to make sure that he is apprehended and convicted.
Ben, how would you approach this case?
I would do it exactly the same way. Try to get her and try to make her feel as safe as possible and to do the right thing and put this guy away if in fact he did it for as long as possible.
And Casilla, when you look at a case like this, we talked about how close this is, so how similar it is to that Gabby Petito case. I mean, what can people learn when they see a case that is mirrored like this?
You know, I'm actually surprised because here in Florida, when you have a case of domestic violence, sometimes you don't even need visible signs of injury. Depending on what the authorities believe, they will usually apprehend and arrest that person at that very moment. But in this case, this is obvious signs of abuse. I mean, look at her arms and look at her face, and not even seeking medical treatment. So maybe she refused the medical treatment, but you had clear signs that this was not self-inflicted. Why wasn't he placed in custody? Why wasn't she protected? So it's so many questions that I have, that this is an ongoing issue with domestic violence cases that they need to take more seriously.
Well, Casilla, well, thank you so much. Sorry to rush you off. We thank you for coming. We'll be right back. Much more Law and Crime after this.